Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, ChaosWulff here, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the outfitting department. And I've got to say, this takes me back a little bit, because it's been a while since I've been sitting in a Sidewinder. So, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over into the outfitting department and take a look at this completely and utterly stock Sidewinder. Now, the only thing different from this, between this one and the one that you get at the very beginning of the game, is that these pulse lasers are not marked as loaned. They are still virtually the exact same ones, I believe. I believe they are exactly the same ones, they're just not marked as loaned because I had to buy this ship back. So, it's not the free Sidewinder at the very beginning. But, yeah. To start off with, I just wanted to explain how the grading system works in the individual components here. Because you see, you have two numbers and a letter. The brown number down the bottom indicates the size of the slot or the bay for the component that you want to house here. So this is a size 2. That means it's a medium slot. The white number there indicates the size of the component itself that you have mounted in the slot. So if you have a size 2 mount, you can actually fit either a size 1 or a size 2 component into that slot. But on the other way around, if you have a size 1 bay, you can only fit a size 1 component in there. You cannot go anything higher than that. So you can only go up to the size of the bay. You cannot go any bigger. Sometimes it does actually pay to go down a size, but as and when that is kind of a debatable issue at the moment. And the next point we have here is the letter. And this, as you may have guessed, signifies the quality of the item. So let's have a look in at the power plant. So we'll go buy and equip, and you see there's an E power plant here, a D, a C, and a B. All of them are rating 2, a class 2, sorry, because I don't believe there are any size 1 power plants. I think everything's at lowest size 2. But you start off with a rating E, which gives you 6.4 megawatts of power. The next one takes you up to 7.2. The C takes you to 8, and the B takes you to 8.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back out a sec, and then it's the same for pretty much all of these. There are some that you'll be able to have bigger or smaller components in. Those will mostly be down here though, in the what are marked as internal compartments, and these are the 3 interchangeable compartments. To start off with, you have your shield generator, your cargo rack, and your basic discovery scanner. But like I said, you can change those to do whatever you want. But before we get to those properly, let us have a look at the rest here, the ones that are not interchangeable. These are the same in every ship you will come across. You have the bulkheads, which are basically the armour of your ship, the main core of what your ship is made out of. You start off with lightweight alloys, and you can then move up to reinforced alloys, military grade composites, mirrored surface composites, and reactive surface composites. Now what these do is if you go from the lightweight alloy onto the reinforced alloy, what this will do is actually make your ship a lot tougher. It'll take more hits to take you down. So it basically increases the health pool of your ship. But not only that, it actually every time you upgrade, it adds mass onto your ship. So this adds an extra 2 tons. But we'll get onto that in a moment. The next one, military grade composites, add 4 tons, but that also makes your ship even tougher. But then this is where things get a little bit more complicated. is when we get to the mirrored and the reactive surface composites. Now what these two do is the complete opposite of each other. The mirrored surface basically protects you from laser weapons, thermal weapons, more. It gives you a higher protection against thermal weapons, but then you are sacrificing the protection of projectile weapons, the kinetic weapons. So if somebody hit you with a beam laser, let's say, then you would be really well protected. But then if they realised this and then started firing off their multi-cannon at you, which fires projectiles, you would be suffering for it even more. Now, if you were going the opposite way and decided to go for the reactive surface armour, that would be the exact opposite. You'd be taking more damage from lasers and less from projectile weapons. But I've yet to work out the exact specifics of these. At the moment I'm still flying around with military grade composites just because I don't want to take the risk of having... I want to know that I've got the same amount of protection from both sides regardless of what I come across. But yeah. The next one on the list, as we already touched upon, is the power plant, and as we saw, that deals with how much available power you have to run the rest of your ship's systems. The more power you have, the more and better systems you can fit into your ship, and the better weapons that you can fit to your ship. After that is the thrusters, and they are kind of very self-explanatory. They are obviously your thrusters, your primary mode of propulsion in real space. So let's have a look in here. Basically, same as always, going from E to A. And the more the better you get, the more thrust you're going to get, and the more maneuverable your ship is going to get. At least in theory. The next is the frameshift drive, and this is the what is responsible for allowing you to go into both supercruise and perform system jumps from one system to the next. If you didn't have a frameshift drive, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You would be able to do something, obviously, but you wouldn't be able to leave the system that you're in. You wouldn't even be able to go that far away from the orbital that you've just left. So you wouldn't be able to fly around the system even without this. And obviously, you start off with the E drive, which gives you a jump range of 7.56 light years. So that's how far you can go out of system. So obviously, when you upgrade, as you can see, every time we upgrade, you get more jump range. Now, the other thing is, which I'll bring in now, which is the mass of your systems. The heavier the ship, or the greater the mass of your ship, the more problems you're going to get. It's going to end up being less maneuverable. The heavier your ship, the harder your thrusters are going to have to work to turn your ship, or to push your ship forward, or to stop your ship. As well, the more mass you have, the harder it's going to be for your jump drive to take you from one system to the next. So if you gain more mass, your jump range will lower. Like you can see here, if we actually had it was either the 2 or the 4 tons of cargo. No, 4 tons of cargo. If we fully cargoed this up, we added 4 tons onto the ship. So that would drop our jump range by 1.31 light years, I believe. I could be wrong, I was doing that in my head. So, like I said, the heavier your ship, the more trouble you're going to have getting around. The next one after this is your life support system, and this is one that you won't be using you won't be seeing it used all that often if you're lucky. But if you're not lucky, and you end up in a dogfight, and you end up having your canopy blown off, this is what stops you from dying instantly. What it is for the life support systems, it gives you oxygen time capacity, which is measured in so many minutes, and that ends up that basically equates to, if you've had your canopy blown off, that's how long it takes for your oxygen to run out and for your pilot to die. So every time you upgrade these, it goes from 7.5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 25 minutes. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that the one that we have at the moment is, let's go double check, yes, it's a grade E, and that's one before this one, which is 5 minutes. The grade E is 5 minutes, the grade D takes it to 7.5. So basically, if you're going to be doing a lot of dogfighting and a lot of bounty hunting and so on, or even if not, you might want to invest in one of these. I'd reckon at least the 10 minutes. But to start with, when you're in your normal Sidewinder, it's not a massive thing to do. So the next one is your power distributor. And what this is it's the wiring that connects your power plant to the rest of your ship. And basically, you start off with your grade E as always, and every time you upgrade, you see here we've got the blue numbers with the arrows above. That basically means that we are getting better. And here we have weapons charge capacity. That just means that weapons charge capacity is let's go back a second. Exit out of here. If you have a look down at the bottom right, you will see just to the left, in between where the image of your ship is with the shields around it, and where it says mass locked. In between those two are three little bars. There we go. There we are. Those ones. You have systems, engines, and weapons. The power distributor basically increases the efficiency of those three bars. Each of those bars represents a certain amount of charge that you have at any one time in that particular ship's systems. And those charges will go down the more you, let's say your engines. If you boost, you will lose charge in that bar. And it'll take a while to recharge back up. Same for weapons. So the longer you fire your weapons for, the more your weapons bar will go down. And the more your shields are going to be getting hit, and the more you're going to be using certain extra systems in your ship, your systems one will be going down. So what the power distributor actually does is increases the efficiency of that system. So you start off with this one, weapons capacity 10. Go to the next one, you gain 10% extra. So you can fire your weapons for 10% longer. The next one, weapons recharge, is 1.200. So you get another 0.2, so you basically, it recharges a little bit faster. You can have the same thing for the engine's capacity and recharge, and systems capacity and recharge. And then you move up again. So this one is 30% better, just on the B. I think if you get to the A, it ends up around about 50% better, so you end up with being able to fire your weapons for 50% longer, and then you've got the recharge on top of it. So if you, so they basically work together to mean that you can fire your weapons a lot longer. The next one is your sensor suite. And what these basically do is allow you to spot other ships around you. The main thing I've noticed is the best range it is to actually spot people in your stock one is 4 kilometers around your ship. Next one goes to 5 kilometers. One after that stays at 5 kilometers, but it actually changes mass and so on. So I think the lower one, like this one, it just basically means that you are more likely to spot if it stays the same. The next one is your fuel tank, and obviously that's your fuel tank. How much fuel you have. Here, there's really no change for it. You've got a class 1. There's not really much you can do about that. Getting to class 2, it changes to capacity 4, so you have like 4 tons of fuel as opposed to the normal 2. And now we are actually on to the interesting part, the 3 internal compartments that are completely interchangeable. The first one is your shield generator, but as you see when we jump in to the actual menu, it's not just shield generators you can buy. I mean, obviously you can buy more shield generators, and there's a class 2C one. The bay we've got is 2, so we could scroll all the way down if we wanted. And where's the best shield generator? There we go, A2. So the shields would be one hell of a lot better in this ship if I went and picked up this shield generator here. But we also have many other items here, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail just now. The next one here is a cargo rack with capacity 4, which means we can fit 4 tons of cargo into this cargo rack. So if I went into there, technically I could downgrade to a class 1, so it'd be a smaller fitting, so I can have 2 tons if I wanted. I don't see why I would, but I could. Next one is the basic discovery scanner. And what this is used for is basically if you fly into a system that has not been mapped or charted and you can't see anything on your radar, you would map this to one of your firing buttons, and then you would use it, wait for it to fully charge and use, and then you'd basically detect all the everything around you within a certain radius. And then you could fly up to it and actually scan it, directly scan it by targeting it and scanning it, and that was how you go around exploring. But that's the basics. We've also got the livery up here, which is basically just your paint jobs and the decals. We'll go into those in a minute, because you can't really, unless you've bought the you either had the beta copy of the game or the mercenary edition of the game, you won't have any decals. And I have one which came with the mercenary edition, but I don't know of any other way to get any of them at the moment. Paint jobs, on the other hand, you can get several of them. Here we go. I have the mercenary one, which came with the mercenary the mercenary version of the game, which I got for being a beta backer. And here's one that I got from the in-game store. So I could basically just decide which one I wanted, click on them, and they wouldn't cost me any in-game credits. Now the next main point is the weapons. On the Sidewinder, you are only going to have basically size 1 weapon, so small hard points. What we can do is we're going to have a look at them in a minute. We're going to carry on having a quick look at the interchangeable ports. Now, what I did when I very first started the game is basically just ran around doing bulletin board missions. And in order to do most of those, I needed cargo space. So what I did was I sold my shield generator. So if I did that now, you can see that I've actually got a higher jump range now, and my my power usage has actually gone down. You've got 2 different power usages here. You've got your deployed and your retracted. That's basically when you've got your weapons out or your weapons in. When your weapons are in, that's how much power you use, and your weapons out, that's how much power you use. So that's what those two mean, and this one is how much power you have in general, so on. And I also sold my basic discovery scanner because I never really used it. But then what I did is I went in here, picked myself up another capacity 4 cargo bay, It costs 3,250 credits. It's not cheap when you very first start because you only start off with around about 100 credits. But what you can also do is pick yourself up a capacity 2. Which is 1,000 credits. Which again is not that cheap, but it's not that expensive either. So what I've now done, by changing those two components out, is I've pretty much given myself 10 tons of cargo capacity. So I've basically turned this Sidewinder from an all-purpose ship to basically a dedicated hauler, basically a transport ship. So I can go around and I can fly 10 tons of cargo from one station to another, or from one system to another, and basically live my life there as a trader. But let's say I didn't want to be a trader, and let's say I was not interested in cargo at all. I wanted to go and basically become a bounty hunter. What I would do is I would sell all of these. And obviously I would buy back my shield generator. So I'd keep my shield generator. Now let's have a look at what else we could fit. Well, a shield cell bank would be quite nice actually. Now what shield cell banks do is they house a certain amount of pre-charged battery cells, which when your ship's shields get to a certain point, you can either hit the keybind because you can associate these either to a keybind or to a fire group. Now you press the button that you associated with them, and it will basically throw one of these charged cells into the circuit which your shields are using, and it will basically boost your shields back up again. So let's say, there we go, let's go for one of those. Obviously it's not cheap. It's nearly 10,000 credits. And then in the bottom slots, let's say, where are we? A frameshift drive interdictor. And what this does is it allows you to, when you're flying around in Super Cruise, and you've scanned somebody and you've found out that they are wanted, let's say, you can fly up behind them. You have to get pretty close. You hit the button that's dedicated to your frameshift drive interdictor, and you basically start off a little mini game which then allows you to pull your targeted ship out of frameshift drive and back into real space, where you can then start attacking them. So we put that on there as well, and this would pretty much be a nice little setup to start around doing some bounty hunting. So you fly around, pick your targets, and go and attack them. Now, let's say you wanted to try being a smuggler. What we'd do is basically sell all these again, and put in the cargo racks again. So you'd have all the cargo racks, but what we'd have to do then is we'd have to go over and put in some utility mounts as well. Now, I haven't gone on about these yet, but these are two extra mounts that are mounted externally to your ship, and they allow you to basically change the flavour of your ship even more. You can start off with heatsink launchers. Now what this does is allows you to dump it's basically all the heat that your ship is generating into the little heatsink, and then you jettison that out of the ship so that it cools your ship down drastically. Now everything that is related to your ship, it basically produces heat, and your ship is constantly venting this heat out into space. There's a way of actually going into what's called silent running mode, which closes off all the external ports and stops you from being able to venting your heat into space, so nobody can spot you very easily. But your ship will still keep trying to build up heat. And what the heatsink launcher does is just lets you vent that heat out, so you stop your ship from boiling you alive, really. And it also the lower your heat, the less likely you are to get spotted. So you can pretty much use it as a stealth mode, almost. It's not completely guaranteed. It's not what it. What I'll do is I'll cover this in a specific video a bit later on. The next one is a chaff launcher. And what that basically does is just fires off little bits of... It's like a little cannon that fires off little bits of like metal foil or so on. And it fires it out, and that metal foil messes with the your enemy's scanners, really. So they can't target you so easily. So every time they're trying to target you with auto-lock weapons, the auto-lock on their weapons just messes up and goes haywire, goes everywhere. Now, the next one is an electronic countermeasure. What this does is it basically helps to stop the enemy ship from locking onto you for torpedoes and missiles. So, again, it's another defensive item. Now we're getting to the interesting bits. The cargo scanner here, that allows you to scan an enemy's the target ship's cargo hold, and you can find out what's in there, and you can use that knowledge to decide whether you actually want to attack them and pirate them. The next one is a kill warrant scanner, and that's more for bounty hunting. What that does is it allows you to scan a wanted ship, or even a ship that shows up as clean, and find out whether they actually have any bounties or not in that, and not necessarily that system, but in any system. So which is particularly useful if you're going into anarchy systems. And frameshift wake scanners, that can be both for piracy and bounty hunting. I have done a video on that one previously, as well as the cargo and the wake scanners. And basically, this allows you to scan the leftovers when someone's gone into hyperspace and find out where they've gone. Point defenses, they just automatically fire on missiles and torpedoes, and then the rest of these are just better versions of the same. Now, let's say I was going to be a smuggler, or even just a trader. I would go in for a heatsink launcher and possibly a chaff launcher, because if you get interdicted what you'll want is a chaff launcher to fire off and stop people from shooting you whilst you try and run away and get away faster. If you decide to be a pirate, I would recommend personally a cargo scanner and a frameshift wake scanner, because cargo scanner, so you can find out what they've got in their cargo hold, and the wake scanner to chase them down if they get away from you. Now, if you're going into bounty hunting, you'd still have the frameshift wake scanner, but I would change the cargo scanner for the kill warrant scanner. And yeah, you could also try like the countermeasure defenses and so on, but or the point defenses or so on. But with most ships, you're limited to 2, and basically the ones I've recommended are the ones that I've found work the best for those specific things. You can go for other ones. There are many thoughts to this. I'm not going to be right all the time. But yeah. So we basically covered the internals, but there's one more thing that we haven't actually covered over yet, which would be buy and equip. Where are we? Where is it? Come on, where are you? You've got the detailed surface scanners, which is just the same as scanning to go and do scanning planets and so on. You've got the auto field maintenance unit, and that basically just helps to repair your internal components if you're in a fight. Pretty much, you're not going to be using that in lower level ships if you've got limited internal components. Refinery, that's used for mining. So if you want to go out and do some mining, you'll have a refinery in the back, in your ship, that allows you to basically process all the ore and stuff that you're bringing into the ship. Intermediate discovery scanner and advanced discovery scanners are the same thing, that allow you to just scan systems. Now, what I'm looking for doesn't appear... Oh, there it is. The Hatchbreaker Olympic controller. And what that does is it's a little basically radio control device that sits in your ship, and it allows you to fire off little self-propelled drones that fly off and attach themselves to your target's cargo hatch, and that allows you to basically steal their cargo without having to blow them up and try and force them to dump their cargo. So yeah. So that's pretty much everything for the internal compartments. I think I've pretty much covered everything. I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty certain I have. If I haven't, please do put it in the comments and let me know. Now, the last point that I need to go on is the weapons. Now, you have got different types of weapons as well. Like, you've got missile launchers, you've got multi-cannon, burst lasers, pulse lasers, beam lasers, wherever they are, railguns, cannons, fragment cannons, and so on. Now, these different types of weapons are kind of great in different situations almost. But basically, they come down into three different main types. You've got the thermic weapons, you've got the kinetic weapons, and where is it? No, there we go. You have the explosive weapons. Now, the thermic weapons basically do more damage to a ship's shields. So, if you've seen them out in my other videos, you'll see that when I'm actually fighting enemy ships, I will use my beam lasers to take down the shields, because it's the fastest way of doing it. Shields block kinetic damage so much more easily. Now, kinetic damage is so much better against the actual hull of the ship itself. So once you've taken the shields down, if you still are using the thermic weapons, like the lasers and so on, you'll be doing less damage. So if you actually switched over to a kinetic weapon, you'll be doing a lot more damage a lot faster. And now still here, I haven't got the greatest grasp on every single one of these stats here. But the ones you've got to mainly notice is the class, so obviously the size of the weapon that fits the hard point, the quality of the weapon, how heavy it is, how much power it draws. So it draws, this one particularly would draw 0.28 megawatts. Then you've got what weapon mode it is. You've got fixed weapons, which basically point straight forwards, and you have to turn your ship in order to bring your guns to bear. Or you have, here we go, gimbaled, which what they do is they are given a small amount of, they have a turning arc basically, and they track the enemy ships within that arc. Now, the next type of weapon, the next type of that is turreted. And these ones you don't control yourself so much. These ones automatically target the enemy ships within a much greater arc, but they also fire by themselves. You don't have direct control over their firing. I only found this out a short while ago. And generally, because every time you change the type of weapon, generally fixed weapons will have the highest amount of damage. Gimbaled, that will drop down a bit because it's easier to aim them really. So you're sacrificing damage for easier aiming. And then the next one, the turreted ones, you're sacrificing even more damage because they are automatically firing themselves and they don't fire as fast. The next one is damage, and that's how much damage that particular weapon does per hit. Armor penetration is how easily the weapon itself actually penetrates the enemy's armor, the enemy ship's armor. I think that's to hit internal compartments, I'm pretty sure. Rate of fire is how fast the weapon fires. Damage per second is how much damage you do, obviously per second. So certain weapons like the cannon do a lot of damage per single hit, but not as much over per second because they have such a slow rate of fire. Whereas multi-cannons do not a lot of damage per hit, but they do a lot more damage per second because they just fire off so much faster. They fire 8 shots per second, this particular one at least does anyway. As opposed to the cannon, which fires only once every half second. The next one you've got is explosive weapons. And they have really, really, really low armor penetration, so they're not very good at hitting the internal compartments. But they are very good at doing damage on the outside of the ship. So you're not going to be doing a lot of damage inside, but you will be doing a lot of structural damage. So you can blow the enemy ships up really quickly with these. Now, here, the next one we've got is a fragment cannon, which is pretty much like it's basically a giant shotgun that you have mounted to your ship, which obviously does a lot more damage. It says it here, per shot it doesn't do a lot, but damage per second it does absolutely amazingly, because it fires off 3 shots very close to each other. But what the main thing is it fires lots of shells per shot. So basically, in a full volley, you'll probably be hitting the enemy ship about 60 times, maybe not that. That's probably the biggest end of it. But then the next main weapon, the last one we're going to touch on now, is railguns, because these ones are a bit special. Because these ones do both thermic and kinetic damage. So these particular weapons are absolutely amazing against both shields and the hull. So you don't need to switch between weapons on these. But the thing is, with these ones, they do take a lot of power to actually power these weapons. And they don't usually fire that often. So sometimes it depends on what your playstyle is. If you like those kind of weapons, go for it. If not, I don't. So I don't. But yeah, those are all the basic types of weapons. We've basically covered the internal compartments, the weapons, the utility mounts, and the livery. So that's pretty much everything you really need to know. I think that's everything. If I've actually missed anything, please do let me know. But yeah, I really hope this has actually been useful for you. I know I've been sitting here just droning on for a bit, but I really do hope this has actually been useful to the newer players that are coming in. So anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please do consider hitting the like button. It really does help this channel out amazingly. And also please do consider hitting that subscribe button to get notifications of my new content as soon as it comes out. But anyway, this has been ChaosWulff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you around.